Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at vanta.com.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
This is Optimal Work Daily, Inventory Management and How to Handle Cash Flow for an Online Store, Part 1, by Steve Chou of mywifequitherjob.com. Recently, my wife and I moved our e-commerce store into a brand new facility, and it was one of the most stressful experiences that we've gone through in a while. Now, moving is always a pain, but just imagine running a business and trying to fulfill orders while thousands of pounds of inventory are in complete disarray with linens littered all over the office. On top of that, imagine that you have 4 employees who you must manage efficiently in this environment to move product out the door. Now, my wife and I didn't really want to move, but a few events forced our hand. First of all, our lease was running out, so we needed to either renew the contract or find a new place ASAP. Second of all, finding a larger space was a necessary evil because we scheduled a 20-foot container of linens to arrive the following week, and our old office was too small to store the new shipment. I even turned off ads for a brief period during the transition so my wife and I would not go crazy. This was particularly painful for me because I hate leaving money on the table. Now, as someone who teaches e-commerce and strongly encourages entrepreneurship, why am I telling you this? Well, after going through moving, I wanted to give you a dose of reality to show you that running an inventory-based business is a ton of work and that there's a lot of hardship that goes along with it. Don't get me wrong, I love running Bumblebee Linens, but there are a few important things that you need to realize about carrying inventory that may not be obvious to new entrepreneurs. Lesson number 1. You will be investing a significant portion of your profits back into inventory. Here's the funny thing about running an inventory-based e-commerce business. On paper, you could be insanely profitable, but from a cash flow perspective, you could be broke. Let me explain. In order to make money with physical products, you have to have product in stock. If there is no product to sell, then you can't make money. It's that simple. Inventory costs a lot of money, and in order to get the best prices, you need to buy in bulk. For Bumblebee Linens, we routinely write large checks to fund inventory, and we recently dropped 6 figures to purchase enough product to last through the holidays. Writing 6-figure checks can be scary, but we make these large purchases because we know that everything will sell over the holidays. And in order to make money, you have to feed the machine. Now, hypothetically speaking, let's say that your margins are 50% and you invest $100K on inventory. This means that you'll bring in $200K in revenue when this batch of merchandise sells out. Ignoring overhead costs, this is a cool $100K in gross profit. $100K in profit sounds pretty good on paper, right? But let's say that your products continue to fly off the shelves and you start running low on merchandise. Demand continues to skyrocket, and based on your manufacturing lead times and what Amazon tells you, you need to make another inventory purchase of twice the amount to keep your stuff in stock. So this time you decide to make an inventory purchase of $200K instead of $100K. Here's where the problems start. Lesson number 2. Profits do not equate to cash. First off, spending $200K on inventory is no joke. In this example, this is every single penny that you just made. Note, you don't have to order this much, but if you don't make the investment, you could run out of stock and stunt your growth. But wait, don't you need some of this money to live on? How are you going to pay the bills? At this point, you have to make the difficult decision of whether to go all in on your business or to take some money off the table. Meanwhile, the tax man can kill you too if you're caught off guard. Remember when I said that you could be insanely profitable but cash flow starved? In the previous example, you made $100K in profit, which means that you have to pay taxes on this $100K to Uncle Sam at the end of the year. But wait, Steve, didn't you just spend $200K on new inventory? Shouldn't this cancel out your profits? Unfortunately, by the rules of accounting, you cannot deduct your entire cost of inventory as an expense in one fell swoop. You can only deduct the cost of a product once you've completed the sale. Note that this is the single biggest pitfall that most new entrepreneurs overlook. Assuming a 33% tax rate, you would have to pay $33K in taxes on your profits to Uncle Sam in addition to the $200K in inventory to fund your business. So, in reality, even though you made $100K in profit on paper, you would still be cash flow negative by $33K. Lesson number 3, set aside some money for taxes. I have several friends that realized this fact too late and didn't have enough money saved to pay the tax bill at the end of the year. Some of these friends had to borrow money or dig into their retirement plans just to pay Uncle Sam, even though their businesses were insanely profitable on paper. Unfortunately, many entrepreneurs fall into this trap. Anyone who sells on Amazon knows that running out of inventory is one of the worst things that can happen with your business. And the need to preserve your product rankings often leads to a vicious cycle of increased risk. You make a killing selling products online, which is used to fund your future inventory, which continues to increase in cost as your business grows. And pretty soon, you find yourself writing six-figure checks and moving to a larger warehouse. Right now, I know several colleagues who have borrowed hundreds of thousands of dollars just to make it through this holiday season. The machine constantly needs to be fed. Lesson number 4. Hear that on tomorrow's episode. You just listened to part 1 of the post titled Inventory Management and How to Handle Cash Flow for an Online Store by Steve Chou of mywifequitherjob.com.
The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but for your finances too. But did you know financial health is directly related to identity protection? You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that are outside of your control. It only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and alerts you to threats you could miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's US-based restoration specialist will fix it, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. In fact, restoration is guaranteed or your subscription money back. Don't face strained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft alone. Resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit LifeLock.com/iHeart and save up to 40% your first year. That's 40% off at LifeLock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
Forget whatever plans you have this weekend because you're staying at home and playing on SpinQuest. And there's never been a better time to sign up than right now. New users get $30 coin packs for just $10. All the table games you love with hundreds of slot games and real cash prizes. That's at spinquest.com. SPINQUEST.com.
SpinQuest is a free-to-play social casino. Void where prohibited. Visit spinquest.com for more details.
And I want to thank Steve Chou and tell you a little bit about his backstory. When his wife became pregnant and she planned to stay at home with the baby, they knew that they'd need to find more income. So they started a little online store called Bumblebee Linens, which is the subject of this post. In just 1 year, they were able to replace his wife's salary of $100K per year, and they started My Wife Quit Her Job to document all of it, including income reports. As of 2016, Steve said that he expected to have the website's first 7-figure year, which is obviously huge. But he didn't stop there. He started the My Wife Quit Her Job podcast and even held his very first e-commerce conference called the Sellers Summit. So clearly, he's been very busy and very successful. So thanks so much to Steve for letting us share his work right here. And come by mywifequitherjob.com for a lot more content. But that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed part 1, and I'll be back here tomorrow with part 2, where your optimal life awaits.